my DIY loving friends, it's Sarah from Medicated Housewife DIY, where crafting and mental health come together. Today, let me be your guide for all things cheap and chic. As we dive into this DIY video, designer decor on a dime. High-end Dollar Tree tumbling tower block transformation. Yes, we're back with your favorites, the tumbling tower blocks. And today we're creating some absolute Jenga block madness. Get ready to unleash your inner designer as we transform these humble Dollar Tree finds into dazzling decor pieces. So what are you waiting for? Well, let's go DIY together. For this DIY, we are using a grand total of 72 tumbling tower blocks from Dollar Tree, all of which I drilled one small hole into one end on the narrow side. And yes, that's right, I used a power tool. It's a miracle, but I survived. I measured about 1/4 inch down from the top of the block and marked it with a pencil and taped together about 8 or 10 blocks at a time, just drilled through where I had marked on the block, as I'm showing you right here. It wasn't perfect, but that's okay. I did my best. Then I simply removed the tape, and each of my blocks has a hole going right through the top. I'm going to glue all 72 of my blocks into 2-block sets with the holes that I drilled on the outside, gluing the 2 undrilled sides together. I used this Beacon 3-in-1 glue, which I will link for you below in the description box, but you can also use super glue wood glue from Dollar Tree for this too. The Beacon glue dries slightly faster, so that's why I'm using that. And as I said, I glued all 72 blocks into 2-block sets, so I end up with 36 groups of 2 blocks. Once my sets of 2 were dry, I decided to use some Minwax wood filler in the cracks where the 2 blocks meet. I will link that for you below, but this step is optional. I just kind of felt like doing it. Wood filler can be kind of messy, and it does add an additional step, so the choice is yours as to whether or not you want to use it. Once the wood filler dries, I did use a sanding sponge like the kind you get at Dollar Tree to sand down the wood filler to make it all smooth. Next, I grabbed about 30 wood beads. You can get wood beads at Dollar Tree, but I'll link these for you below. I placed them on a skewer, and I am using a mixture of folk art antique wax, which I'll link for you below, mixed with water to thin it out. And I am going to paint all of the beads using this mixture. Then I use a dry paper towel to wipe away the excess liquid. Then I use that same antique wax and water mixture to paint all 36 groups of 2 blocks. I am painting them on the front and both of the sides, as well as the back and the ends of all of the blocks. Basically, I'm painting all over the blocks and allow them to fully dry. So, surprise, we're making a fruit basket. I've laid the 2 block sets out in the configuration that I want to attach them in. I've got 8 blocks across the bottom and then 7 blocks in between each of the bottom blocks on both sides of the basket. I also have 8 sets on both ends of the basket. So everything is ready to be attached, just like you see it right here. I'm using this bendable wire I got on Amazon, and I'll link it for you below, but you could also use the floral wire from Dollar Tree for this if you wanted to. I cut a long piece of wire off and make a twisted loop at one end, kind of like we're going to make a beaded necklace or something like that. And once the end of the wire is closed with the loop, I begin threading it through one of the ends of the basket through the bottom holes. We're starting this on the bottom. So I pull the wire straight through the bottom holes of those 8 end blocks, as you see me doing right here. Then I thread the wire through the first bottom block set and straight into the bottom hole of the first basket side block set. Hopefully that makes sense to you. It may be easier to just watch me as I'm doing it. And basically on the sides, we are alternating bottom block, side block, bottom block, side block until we get to the other end. And it'll make sense as you watch me do it. Once we get to the last bottom block set on that side, we thread our wire through the bottom holes of the 8 2-block sets that are on this end of our basket. Then we're back to alternating bottom blocks with the bottom hole on the side blocks until that whole side of our basket is threaded with the wire, and we end up back where we started. Then I take my wire from the beginning and my wire from the end, and I trim them down a bit and then twist them together really tightly just to close up the wires temporarily while we go to work on the top of the basket. I cut another long piece of wire for the top of the basket, and starting at the same block set we started with on the bottom, I make a twisted loop at one end of the wire and begin threading through the top hole of the first end block, followed by a wood bead, and then another block, and then another wood bead. So in the simplest terms, the entire top of the basket is alternating bead, block, all the way around the top until we return back to that end block that we started with. And as you pull the wire tighter, the sides and the ends of the basket stand up and form that basket shape. As you can see it starting to do right here, the benefit of using the wire is that it really makes that basket top kind of pliable and easier to shape. When I get to the last bead, the way I decided to close up the top wire is I string the beginning of the wire through that last bead I added, so it comes out the other side of the bead, and I twist it around itself essentially, trimming off the excess and hide that twisted wire inside the bead hole, doing the same thing on the other side of the bead. Truly, it's the exact same thing as when you bead a necklace or a bracelet or something like that, but I find wire even easier to use because you only have to twist it, not knot it like string or like rope. And then with the bottom wires that I twisted together, I also wrap that twist around itself, trim it shorter, and basically just tuck it under one of the bottom blocks to hide it. Easy peasy. And this is my tumbling tower block fruit basket, and I cannot express how much I love this basket. This is a Pinterest-inspired dupe of a vintage wood fruit bowl that I saw, and I truly, truly love how it turned out. Great for fruit or anything really, and to be completely honest, it is currently sitting on my coffee table holding all of my TV remotes, so I call this one versatile and very much upscale for what it's made out of. This next DIY is using 120 tumbling tower blocks from Dollar Tree in total, so I opened up 2 new boxes to use. I'm using super glue, wood glue, also from Dollar Tree, and I am going to be gluing sets of 2 for all 120 blocks. So I'm making 60 sets of 2 blocks that are glued end to end. Once my 2 block sets are glued, I'm going to assemble some rectangles, and spoiler alert, we are making a giant wood link chain. So each of my links will use 3 of these rectangles. So I'm making 9 rectangles. I'm using the 9 rectangles to make 3 chain links. So I start with my 3 sets of 3 rectangles, or 9 rectangles total. With 9 rectangles already made, I'm also making 2 links that will be open, so I can use them to attach the chain together, if that makes sense. So I need 3 open rectangles for each of the 2 open links that I'm making, so that's 6 open rectangles, basically a U shape with 1 2-block set that's not attached at the top. So I am going to do that 6 times. So back to my closed rectangles. To assemble my first chain link, I'm gluing 3 rectangles together, stacked one on top of the other, as you see right here. Then I do that 3 rectangle stack 2 more times to make 3 closed links. For the 2 open links, we're going to be doing the same 3-pile stack, just with the top of the rectangles separate. So it's 3 U shapes, one on top of another, and 3 2-block sets, also one on top of another. And we're going to do this twice to make 2 open links. I decided to use some of that Minwax wood filler in all of the outside cracks between the blocks on all of my links to help add to that solid wood link kind of look. This step is optional. You do not have to do this if you don't want to. I guess I was just really feeling that wood filler that day. I didn't bother using the filler on the inside of the links, just the top, bottom, and sides, and I let that wood filler dry and sanded all my links off camera. I mixed some apple barrel khaki paint with water, and I am going to paint all the links with this paint mixture because I wanted a natural wood tone, but a little warmer and a bit more even on all of my links. So I paint the 3 closed links as well as the 2 open links all over on all sides and the inside, and allow all 5 of the links to fully dry. Once the khaki paint was dry, I took some folk art white chalk paint and a chip brush, and I very lightly distress painted all 5 links with the white chalk paint, just giving them a little bit of an aged and a scratched up kind of look, but trying to keep everything very light and very natural. Then I grabbed some folk art antique wax and another chip brush, and I distress painted all of the edges and the corners of each of the 5 links with the antique wax, including all of those inside edges, as you can see me doing here. Not heavy, just enough to give the links some added dimension and some depth. Lastly, it was time to assemble my chain, so taking 2 closed links and 1 open link in between them, I attach the 2 closed links with the open one and glue that top piece to that open link to close it up. Then I take the last closed link and attach it to that 3rd link on the chain using my 2nd open link to attach them and gluing that top piece onto the open link. And here is my giant wood link chain made out of tumbling tower blocks, and frankly, I have made smaller chains with these blocks in other videos, like using just 1 single rectangle link, but this big one is so substantial looking, and it really gives a more high-end decor feel. I love it, I really do. You could also paint this in any way or make it darker or lighter wood, so customizable. I love this DIY. This next DIY uses 60 tumbling tower blocks from Dollar Tree, and I drew this freeform squiggly line, and admittedly, I'm no artist. And then I basically outlined the design with the blocks standing up. I'm going to use wood glue to attach the blocks to one another, trying to keep them as close to this squiggly line as I can. It was not an easy feat, but sometimes I just do things, you know? I just do them without thinking them totally through, and oftentimes I take you on this journey with me. Sometimes it works out beautifully and sometimes not so much, but I am happy you guys are here to share it with me. Hopefully you're happy about that too. I did my best with the gluing, but the shape made it really unsteady, so I ended up dousing the bottom of that with like a ton of hot glue just to really hold it all together. It's a hard shape to hold Jenga blocks, but the hot glue did make it more secure. Not pretty, but secure. So because of that, I decided to paint it fully using this apple barrel black paint. I used a small brush so that I could get paint into all the little cracks and basically make everything on this piece totally opaque black. Then I let the whole thing dry. Meanwhile, I had these 6 tiny wood rings. I'll link them for you below. I painted the 6 rings using some antique wax and rubbed the excess wax off with a paper towel, and then I let those rings dry. Once the rings dried, I used wood glue to stack 3 rings on top of each other, making 2 of those 3-ring sets. And then I take the first 3-ring set and using some hot glue, attach it to the top of that first raised area of my Jenga block piece. Then I glue the other 3-ring set to the second raised area so they both sit flat. And this is my wavy Jenga block candle holder. I don't know. I just don't know. It's not what I envisioned, but it does have a little uniqueness to it. It kind of reminds me of a snake. It might be cool looking. I don't know. I don't know. I'm kind of speechless, you guys. And as usual, I want to know what you think. Let me know in the comments which one of these Dollar Tree tumbling tower block transformations was your favorite and why. You don't have to include the wavy candle holder if you don't want to. Regardless, you know I love hearing from all of you. If you've enjoyed this stunning high-end decor that looks like $1 million but costs less than a latte, please give this video a big thumbs up and share it with your friends. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Your support means the world to me and keeps this channel thriving. I can't thank you enough for watching. Until next time, I'm Sarah, the Medicated Housewife, reminding you to keep crafting, keep smiling, and together we're making the world a more beautiful place, one DIY at a time.